Hello my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. I apologize for however the audio on this video turns out. Normally I have my headphones with the little mic piece that I talk into so you can hear me better, but I got a new phone, which is good, but now my old wired headphones don't plug into it anymore, which is not so good, and I don't have anything else to use as a microphone, so it may be a little difficult to hear. The audio may be a little crunchy. If it is, I'm sorry. We're gonna work with it right now before I figure something else out, which hopefully I will. Today's video is one that I'm actually really excited about because I'm going to be talking about something I actually like to talk about, unlike last week's video where I was just being a hater, but it's okay, we don't need to get into that. Today I'm going to be talking about things I actually like, and that is sapphic fantasy. This is my favorite subgenre of books. Fantasy is probably my favorite genre. I think it's definitely my biggest genre that I read the most. I love fantasy, I love escaping reality, and how better to escape reality than if there's also lesbians? Put me in jail, whatever. I said what I said. I love sapphic fantasy, but there are also definitely many sapphic fantasies I have read that I did not enjoy. So today we're going to be talking about some that I liked, some that I didn't like, some that I thought were mid, and then yeah, I'll just give you my opinions and you guys can comment, tell me your opinions, and we'll just have a nice little chat. But before I get into any actual books, I wanted to talk about just some things like in general that are important to me when I'm reading a fantasy book, or specifically a sapphic fantasy book, that I'm going to be looking out for. So the first thing I wrote down on my little note card here is the prose. Obviously in any book, I think the prose is important, the language you use is important, the way your words flow and the rhythm of how you write is obviously important to any book, but I feel like it is most important in fantasy. And that is because I don't want to read a fantasy book and feel like I'm reading about the real world. Like, I don't like it. If the way it's written feels too like realistic to me, or too, not realistic, that's not what I'm looking for. I mean just too like down to earth, like it feels too mundane, I guess. I'm not gonna like it. I like the wording in fantasy books to be fantastical. See what I did there? And if it's not, it's just gonna put me off a little bit. So that's a big thing for me in fantasy, is that I want the writing, I want the words, I want everything, the way they speak, to be not like anything I've ever heard before, because I want it to be something completely new. And that's another thing I have written down, is just I want everything to be new. I want a plot line. There's so much sapphic fantasies that are labeled as like romantasy that have no plot line. That's not what I want. I want a plot line. I want a good plot line, and I want something new, something interesting, not something that I can like guess at. And we'll get a little bit more into like cozy fantasy. I don't know. I'm not the biggest cozy fantasy fan, not because I don't like the genre itself, but just because I feel like a lot of the time there is literally like nothing happens, or whatever happens is just so predictable and it makes me angry. But it's okay. I just don't like things to be predictable. I want to not know what's going on. I want to be like at the edge of my seat. I want to be immersed in the world and like not be able to expect what's going to happen. And if that doesn't happen, it's just not going to do it for me. If I can guess the whole plot in the first 20 pages, it's going to be a no. Next I have politics. First of all, reading is political. Go ahead and get that out there. Yeah, on this channel we think reading is political. 1000%, but we don't need to get into that right now. But I do like to have politics in fantasy, and it's not like a definite like immediate no if there's no politics in fantasy. Like it doesn't have to, I don't mean it has to be a political fantasy. It doesn't have to literally be a political fantasy. It can be like a different subgenre of fantasy, but I do like there to be just a little bit of politics in it. I find it entertaining. I also put down for the romance aspect, I like a slow burn. And when I say this, it can be like it can be like friends to lovers, enemies to lovers, whatever like the actual like trope is, but I like it to be slow. I don't want them to get together. I either want them to like already be together and then the story be about them being together, or for them to take forever to get together. Like, I don't want them to meet at the beginning and then get together. It's not what I'm looking for. They're either already together at the beginning or they get together closer to the end. That's the two extremes. I want one of them. I don't want it in the middle. And I want yearning. Bring back yearning. Why don't we have any yearning? And I have such an issue with sapphic romance. That's why I was originally going to make this just about sapphic books in general, not specifically fantasy, but I just didn't even want to talk about sapphic romance because I'm disappointed literally almost every single time I pick up a sapphic romance book, and so I have stopped reading the genre entirely. That's a lie. Anyways, doesn't matter. Point is, bring back yearning. I want yearning in my books. I want to feel the yearning. I don't want to question the yearning. I want to feel the yearning, even if the romance is just a small little subplot, which is how I like it. I like the romance to be a subplot. Sometimes I do like the romance to be on the forefront, but normally in my fantasy, I want it to be a little subplot. I still want there to be yearning. I want to feel the yearning. I want to feel the tension. I like it. Bring it back. And that's all the notes that I have written down. One that I didn't write down is found family, but obviously, I mean, I like found family all the time in any genre. I'm always going to eat it up. It's because I have daddy issues, but yeah, found family, always going to be a plus in my book. And with that, let's get into some of my opinions on some actual books. So I don't want to just like come and like say like all the good books and all the bad books. So I think I'm going to do like a mix. Like I'll be like, oh, this is a good book, this is one that's like similar aspects but not executed well, and we're going to kind of do it like that. Also, I'm sorry, a lot of these books are like popular books by big titles, and I'm sorry. If you have any like lesser known books by smaller authors that you've read that you've enjoyed that were sapphic fantasy, please comment them down below, because I would love to read more smaller authors. A lot of these are big names, so I do apologize for that. If you are like someone who is just dipping your toes into like sapphic fantasy and you're looking for more of like a cozy vibe, more of like a romantic vibe, and yes, there's a fantasy plot, a good fantasy plot, but it's more romance, it's more comfy, you feel comfortable, it's not super heavy, I would tell you to go for Adrienne Tooley. I love Adrienne Tooley. I love her books. I've actually only read 2 of her books. I don't know how many books she has, but she has 2 sapphic fantasy books that are both really, really good. One of them is called Sweet and Bitter Magic, and the other one is called Sophie and the Bone Song. I'll put pictures up here so you can see. Both of these books, I absolutely adore them. I think I gave them both like 4+ stars. Great books, great if you're just wanting something that you can get through quickly, that's gonna leave you warm and fuzzy in the inside, but that's also gonna keep you immersed the whole time you're reading it. I think she does a really great job of balancing the romance and the plot, because they are romantic books, so they are romance heavy, but she also does a really good job of having the actual like plot line and like shocking you with the plot. I did say these were like lighter reading, but obviously there are going to be some parts that are more emotional, as with pretty much any book, I'd say. But I love both these books. They're so good, and they're different enough from each other that like they're very different from each other. Like you can tell that it's like the same author, but like they're different enough that you're not going to be like, oh, this is repetitive. It's not. And I love both of the couples in these books, and I just thought they were incredible, so I would definitely recommend those ones to you. But on this same like category, one that I would not recommend is The Honey Witch by Sydney Shields. I posted about this in one of my reading wrap-ups. I don't even remember what month I read that in. I guess it must have been January, February when I read it. I hated it. I hated The Honey Witch. I hated it so much, and I felt bad because I had it recommended to me so many times, and I thought it was genuinely going to be like a 5-star read, and it was not. If you check out my January, February wrap-up video, I'll go into more detail about like why I didn't like it, but just to like sum it up here, there was just no plot. I didn't like the characters, didn't find the characters likable, just nothing about it was like really entertaining to me. It was just all like, oh fine, let me get through this, and it wasn't worth it. It wasn't worth my time reading it. So if you were thinking about getting that one, I would say instead go for Adrienne Tooley and go for some of her books, Sophie and the Bone Song or Sweet and Bitter Magic, because either of those ones I think would be much better than The Honey Witch if you want something cozy. Now moving on from cozy, if you want something a little bit more political, a little bit more higher level of fantasy, not quite high fantasy, but higher level of fantasy, more political, a little bit of like sci-fi elements, you can never go wrong. Cryer's War. I love Cryer's War. I'm sure you've heard of it a million times. I'm sure you've heard a million people. You're probably annoyed at the amount of times you've heard people recommend Cryer's War. I don't care. I'm never going to stop recommending it because I just love this book so much. Cryer's War, it's a duology. It's Cryer's War and then you have Ironheart. Both the books, I think they're each like 300, 400 pages, so not super long, really nice, really easy to get through. You'll get through it super quick because you'll be so ready to know what happens next. They're great books, incredible. This one, 5 stars. Like I said, prose is a big thing for me in fantasy, and the prose in these books is beautiful. It makes you feel like you are literally in another world. It is so incredible. Absolutely love Nina Varella's writing style. I just think these books are so incredible and you cannot go wrong. We have an enemies to lovers little sapphic trope, and when I say enemies, I mean enemies, because I get pissed off when people say enemies to lovers when it's actually rivals to lovers. No, if I'm saying enemies, I mean they are at each other's throats trying to murder each other. Enemies, not just competing against each other. That's rivals. I'm talking enemies. These girls are enemies. The book starts with our main character, or one of our main characters, Alia, literally plotting how to kill Cryer, and then they end up together. The plot of this one, like I said, a little bit more sci-fi elements, but it's not sci-fi. It's definitely fantasy. But we have a race of people who are not actually born, but are built. So they're kind of like, not really robots because they like bleed, but they're like manufactured people. I forget what their race of people is called. It's been a while since I read the book, but these people have kind of taken over society and are now like the pillars of society and they are in charge of everything and rule over everyone. Meanwhile, the humans are kind of underneath them and they're like starving and begging for food and poor, while these people are rich, and there's the political aspects of it. Yes, snaps for that. But Alia is a human and Cryer is a whatever. I'm so mad I can't remember what they're called. I'm sorry. She's a not human. She's a made person. And she, not only is she not a human, but she is also like the heir to like the entire like empire. Like she's like the king's, like, I don't know what they call him if he's not the king. He's something. But she's his daughter. So she's like literally like above everyone, and Alya's like on the bottom. And so Alya is plotting to kill Crier because she wants revenge for all the crap that's gone down in her side of the world. And you follow each of their stories until they intersect, and then you follow them together, and you really will get to love these characters so much, and you will hate, I mean hate, the men in this book. You will hate them. Oh my god, and you will be screaming for joy whenever Crier and Alya finally prevail. But the romance in this book, so sweet, so beautiful, and it doesn't overshadow the plot. Like I said, this book has a lot of plot too. That is excellent. Excellent plot, so immersive, and the romance is so much yearning, so much sweetness, so much, oh my god, giggling, kicking my feet. Also, literally the next second, crying because of what is going on. Absolutely incredible duology. Highly recommend. If there's one book you read from this whole video, make it be Crier's War. Make it be Crier's War. Now, one that I did not like, that's more of a different, I don't know, kind of in between like higher fantasy and like cozy fantasy, would be Feybound. I hated this book. This one's in my March wrap up. I talked about it. Didn't like this book at all. We have 3 different races, or like species, I don't know, of people. We have the humans, the elves, and the Fae. And it's believed that like 1 or 2 of them are like extinct, and the other one is the only one that still exists. But then they discover, I'm literally having such a hard time even remembering the plot because that's how much I hated it. That's how boring it was. Yeah, you know what? I'm not even gonna bother trying to explain to you. Hated this book. Thought it was stupid. Sorry, I shouldn't say that. No offense to the author of this book. I actually think the prose in this book was incredible. That was the only thing that kept me going because I loved the writing style in this book. I thought it was incredible, but I did not actually enjoy the content. I thought the plot was so boring. Like literally this whole book, I swear nothing happened. I swear nothing happened at all. None of the characters were likable. I did not feel a connection with a single character. I did not like a single character. And then the actual like romance aspect of it, at the beginning, our main character is with somebody, and then their relationship is so complicated and like weird though, and they had to explain it in like a really short like chapter, and their whole dynamic was just weird and I didn't really get it. And she like banishes her from the whole kingdom, and then while she's banished, she's like gets with this other girl, and they're the ones you're supposed to be rooting for. And I don't know, it was a lot, and it was a lot of nothing at the same time, and I just didn't enjoy it whatsoever. So I wouldn't recommend that one, but I would definitely recommend Crier's War over that one. Sorry. Now, if you're looking for something more of a series, an ongoing series that, or not ongoing, if you're looking for more of a like a completed series that's multiple books, that has a plot that grows with each book, and you're looking for something that's a little longer, a little more time consuming, go for The Night and Its Moon. I read The Night and Its Moon a while ago, and I really loved it. I gave it 5 stars. I gave every book 5 stars because I used to rate series like as a whole, but looking back, I think I liked the first 2 books better than the second 2 books, but I also loved the ending of the last book. I don't really know, but this series, it's like nostalgia for me, I feel like a lot, but essentially we follow these 2 girls who grew up in this orphanage together, and there are people in this world who have like powers and who have like enhanced abilities and all this stuff, and each of these orphans has some sort of power or some sort of ability, but they end up having to be separated at this orphanage because they're trying to be like sold. The woman who runs the orphanage is trying to sell them away, and so they end up getting separated, and they're each living very different lives, but they are trying so hard to reunite with each other because they have like this thing between them. They don't really know what to call it. They're not sure what it is, but there's something between them, and so they fight. The entire first book is just them trying to get back to each other, and then well, I won't say what happens after. I don't want to spoil it, but it goes on, and this is another one. Like I said, the plot builds and builds and builds, and a lot of stuff happens in these 4 books. A lot of stuff happens, and I loved these books. I ate them up. There were definitely parts that I didn't like. There were parts that were questionable. Since I read those, I've read others of Piper CJ's work, and I haven't liked any of it. This was the only series at first I liked. She is very sexual. There are lots of smutty scenes, not really in the first book. I don't think there's any in the first book, but as the series goes on, there gets to be a lot more, and a lot of like kinky shit, I'll be honest, but it doesn't take over the book like at all. Like there's so much plot and so much going on, and there is yearning, and there is all these things, and I just really enjoyed them. I really did. I will say though, As far as like the actual like sapphic romance in the books goes, I kind of sort of preferred like the straight couple that gets together like at the very end of the 4th book over any other couple in this book. And I won't tell you who it is because it's a major spoiler, but they were actually my favorite as opposed to any of the other characters. So I don't know if that says anything about the romance, but I definitely really like these books. So I would say they're worth giving a shot. Now, a series that I would say no to is The Scapegracers. I haven't actually completed the series because I just read the 1st book and I hated it. It took me forever to read this book. It literally took me like a month. Like, this book put me in a reading slump. It took me like a month to finish it. And I hated it. It was so boring. There was just nothing going on. And that's like such a big thing for me. Like, there has to be a lot of stuff happening to keep me going, or you have to be writing like the most beautiful way I've ever like heard something said. You have to be writing like that, and this just wasn't that. This was also, I feel like the 1st book was just a lot of like setup. Like, I feel like it was just set up for the 2nd book, and I just wasn't into it, and I am never going to finish the series because I just simply don't care. I hated the 1st book. I can't lie. I hated it, and I wouldn't recommend that. So if you were looking for a series, I would not recommend Scapegracers, but I would recommend The Nine Inch Moon. If you're looking for something more adult, like not YA, our characters are grown up adults, I would recommend The Book Eaters. This is one that I don't hear recommended as much, actually. The Book Eaters by Sunya Dean. It is really, really good. I read this book, I think it's in my January, February wrap up where I talked about it, but I really enjoyed this book. It's really short. It's like a thin book. You can get through it quickly, and it was really good. It's very different than any other fantasy I've ever read. It doesn't take place in a fantasy world. It takes place in the real world. It just has like elements of fantasy because it has the whole species of book eaters and mind eaters. So obviously, like, there's that's the fantasy element. It's not that it takes place in a fantasy world, which I feel like oftentimes when that happens, it's like hit or miss for me. But this one I really enjoyed, actually. I really, really loved it, and I thought it was so unique and a concept that I'd literally like never heard of before. And if you manage to do that to me, it's gonna impress me. Like, it's gonna impress me. And our main character, like I said, she is an adult. She has children, and we just kind of follow her story. If you want to see more of me just like talking about the plot of that book, I explain it a lot more in detail in my January, February wrap up, but it's just a fantasy, and we do end up getting a little sapphic romance in it, and it's really interesting. If you want to read something that's probably like nothing you've ever read before, that's a really good one. Now, on that same note, there are 2 that I have in the bag category that I have to go like parallel with this one. One of them it's because it is also adults, and one of them is because it also takes place in the real world. So the one that's adults is The Hells of Notre Dame. This one I have like mid. Like, I didn't hate The Hells of Notre Dame. I gave it like 3 stars. I think I maybe even gave it more than 3 stars. Like, I didn't hate it by any means, but I'm not gonna ever read the 2nd book because I didn't enjoy it either. It follows 2 adults. One of them does have a child, and we just kind of see their story. I don't know. I feel like it just wasn't enough to keep me like on the edge of my seat. Again, it's another one that did have a lot of sexual scenes, which, I mean, I'm not opposed to, but I'm not like super into either. Like, I don't know, I just kind of flip through it, I guess. But I'm trying to remember the plot. I don't even remember the plot this well. I just know one girl is like this performer, and the other person works like in the church. So it's kind of a complicated relationship, and there is a lot of like religious aspects in it. I can't speak. Religious aspects in it, which I do like that. Actually, I love reading a book that has like religious allegory in it, but this wasn't, I don't know, it just kind of missed for me. But I don't think it was terrible. Like, I'm not saying definitely don't read it, but I'm also not like screaming at you have to, because it's like, you do you, whatever you want. And then the other book I had that kind of was parallel was This Ravenous Fate by Haley Dennings. That one, I have that one on the same plane because it takes place in the real world. It takes place in Harlem, and it talks about, it's vampires, first of all, which if you watched my last video, I don't like vampires. I'm sorry, it's not for me. But this book, it wasn't the vampire aspect that made me not like this book. It was everything else. The plot, and this is something that I've heard by a lot of people who read this book actually, is the plot not super interesting. Like, not gonna keep you on the edge of your seat, not like something remarkable, just kind of like there. Like, the plot, there was a plot, but it wasn't anything great. And then the characters, for me, didn't like the characters at all. I thought there was like, all the characterization felt very forced, and I thought the characters weren't like, I couldn't form an attachment to any of the characters. I didn't really like particularly like any of the characters, and I wasn't rooting for any of the characters, and I wasn't even rooting for the couple to like get together. Like, I wasn't super into anything about this book. And again, this is no shade to the author. I actually love this author. I follow her on TikTok, and I think she's really cool, but this book just wasn't for me. And so if you want something that has like a plot that's going to stick with you and characters that you're going to love, this is just not the one to go to. And then obviously, because it wouldn't be a sapphic fantasy video if I didn't mention this book, or these two books I should say, and that is Priory of the Orange Tree and A Day of Fallen Night. I know you're sick of hearing it, you don't want to keep hearing these books recommended, I get it, but I just love these books so much, and I have seen so much controversy about these books, just about whether they were good or not. I am always going to be a yes, 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 I love these books type of girl. I actually prefer Priory to Night, and I feel like I'm like, I feel like I'm in the minority with that, because everybody I've seen post about it always says they prefer A Day of Fallen Night to Priory. And don't get me wrong, both are 5 stars, 6 stars, god tier, but I definitely prefer Priory, I think. But both books, the sapphic part of it, the romance aspect, is a small portion of the book. These are thick books. I'm talking 800-page books. So the romance is less. They follow a lot of different characters that you're going to absolutely adore, by the way, or hate if they want you to hate them, but like characters that you're going to really feel for. And they follow a lot of characters, so there's a lot of stuff happening, but it all kind of ties up at the end with a little bow, and it's so perfect. It's so, so, so perfect. And there's just so much going on politically. The climate of this whole like universe that Samantha Shannon created, it is so immersive, and there's so much that like is going on. Just the depth of the world in these books, like the depth of the world building is phenomenal. Like it is so captivating. It will just swallow you whole and you will love it. Like I cannot get over these books ever. I will never get over these books in my entire life. And there is dragons. If you want dragons, here's your dragons. Love these books. And then the last book that I want to talk about was The Dark Tide. This is another one that I have kind of like mid. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people really enjoyed this book. I thought it was kind of eh. I did like the couple like at the end, like I really liked them together, and I did think the plot was like fine. I didn't like the setup, I didn't like the beginning, and I don't think, actually thinking about it, I don't think I liked the plot that much. I think I liked the characters but not the plot very much, so that's kind of where it lost me. But essentially this book, we follow our main character who is sort of like in love or just like infatuated with this guy, and they every year, I don't know, I don't remember the plot, but there's essentially like they're like on an island like surrounded by ocean, and the ocean is like alive-ish, and it's gonna like swallow up their whole city if they don't like offer somebody to it. Maybe is that, I think that's what it was. And so there's a witch that is responsible for like choosing who goes into the tide, and she picks this boy that our main character isn't like obsessed with. And so the main character goes on this mission to rescue this boy, but she ends up falling for the witch. And I don't know, I literally don't even remember what happened, I can't lie, but I do remember that I did like the couple. But that's one that I see recommended a lot, so I just wanted to say I'm not gonna push you either way. But if you're expecting something with like an unforgettable plot, no, it's super forgettable. If you think you're gonna be like cutesy moments, there are definitely some cutesy moments. And it is enemies to lovers, so that's what you wanted, go for it. It's also very discreet. Like that's one that you could buy and no one would know it was a queer book because it's very discreet. And that's pretty much it for all the books I have to recommend or not recommend. I am going to say that some series that I'm hoping, or series or books that I'm hoping to start soon that are sapphic fantasy, I'm hoping to read The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke and The Jasmine Throne. I'm also hoping to read A Dark and Drowning Tide and Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil. I don't remember if there's any others that I have like on my list to read, but those are some that I'm hoping to read. So if you've read them, let me know down below if they're worth it. And yeah, I guess I will see you guys next week. Bye.